And welcome to Let's Take a Look at Ziggurat. I'm NLE-related, and while the arbitrary, rather stupid and really short story plays out, I'd like to talk a bit about the framework of this LP, if we can call it an LP. Anyway, the story: you are an apprentice wizard. Surviving this whole death trap dungeon is some sort of a final exam, that's it. If you want the complete version, with all those silly names and words and really repetitive music and art of dubious quality, feel free to ignore my voice. Anyway, about the LP. This is not going to be a completionist thing, it's not even going to be a complete thing. I'm going to run through the Ziggurat a couple times, and as long as it's fun for me or for you to watch. The main reason for this is that there's not really that much to the game that would be worth watching. It is very fun to play, or at least I find it very fun to play, but there's just not that much content. The main reason I want to show it off is that it does have a very divisive reputation. A lot of people consider it fully boring and completely without merit. Some people consider it an interesting experiment in that whole FPS roguelike thing, but they feel it fails in making the weapons and enemies and level design interesting in any way. That's actually the most common complaint I'm finding in Steam reviews of this game, and while there is definitely something to it, I feel it doesn't really hit the real point of the game. See, this isn't a shooter roguelite, this is an FPS platformer roguelite, in the vein of Doom or Hexen and Heretic. And here we are at the main menu. I should probably mention that this is not a clear run. I got most of, well, just about everything that factors in unlocked, and there's a reason for it, but we'll discuss that later. As you can see, there's quite a lot of characters to choose from, but for this first run, we'll take the default one, Argo the Apprentice. He has no strengths or weaknesses. I should probably mention that this is my first run after not playing this game for months, so feel free to expect fumbling, incompetence and general fuck-uppery. And here we are at the picturesque Halls of Despair. The movement commands are self-explanatory. The thing I picked up was a weapon, we'll get to that a bit later, and the decidedly underwhelming pink lights were me using my wand. Every character starts with a wand. It's a weapon with infinite ammunition that regenerates slowly. It's about as powerful as it looks. The weapon I picked up, on the other hand, is the magma rifle, and that kicks ass. You'll also notice we are fighting the roguelike evergreen of skeletons. Skeletons are chumps. They fire a slow-moving projectile that can be easily avoided, and that's a good thing because they tend to come in numbers. The combat in this game is arena combat. If you enter a room that's designated as a combat room, enemies will start spawning. There is a predetermined number of enemies, dictated generally by the level you're in and the difficulty you're playing on. Now, that rotating purple thingamajig I'm about to pick up is called a portal key, and we need one to exit the floor, but what is this? I honestly think cracked walls are some sort of a universal transcultural signal among shooter players everywhere. Probably up there with the secrets jingle. Anyway, there is one secret room per floor and it gives you a free perk, as well as a look and a brief description at one of the developer's previous games. Honestly, I'm not sure this works as intended, because for all intents and purposes, their previous games all look like total shit. But maybe that's just me. Back to the action. Now, the portal key we picked up actually serves a purpose in letting us out of the level, because it allows us to summon the boss. All levels in Ziggurat follow this structure. You need to find a key, then kill the boss, then you can advance. At least early on, however, you also want to clear out the entire level because of experience. You seriously need experience because you seriously need perks. If you're not buff enough, you will not survive the later levels. I wanted to say lower levels, but the intro showed the thing is upside down and the levels keep getting bigger, so theoretically they're upper. And yes, that was not a hallucination, we just caught a whiff of the game's signature enemy. I think they're called Mandragoras, but let's face it, and call them what they are, werkarats. I shall have words on this subject later, and the words won't be nice, but here they come up paired with a completely different type of pain in the ass, slimes. And the action is moving too fast for me to commentate, so the slimes get a pass. Next time, slimes, next time. Anyway, I leveled up and picked up a perk that allows me to get a new weapon. Dragon Bile is a flamethrower type of weapon that occasionally poisons enemies. Poison in Ziggurat does fuck all. So much for Dragon Bile. Now, what we are about to enter is a trap room. Trap rooms are generally fairly simple to navigate, but they become a massive pain in the ass when you're backtracking through the level looking for that one door you missed and need to progress. You get through that one simply with a bit of timing and moving when the floor isn't on fire. Anyway, fight time. The slimes come out in full force now. They fire a slow-moving projectile that isn't particularly dangerous, however they like to move around and fire from lots of different angles. They also have a very annoying strafe move that usually isn't enough to avoid the first projectile you shoot at them, but will dodge the second and third ones. Now, if you're watching this and you're at least a bit FPS savvy, you're probably asking yourself, why am I running into the middle of the room like an idiot instead of sticking to one side, hurting the slimes a bit, and taking them comfortably while they're all firing from the same general direction? The reason is simple, it's experience. In Ziggurat, just killing monsters isn't enough to gain experience, you have to work for it. Monsters drop experience in the form of little yellow knowledge gems, and the main characteristic of those, annoyingly enough, is that they don't stay in existence for very long. This mechanic has several rather interesting implications for the way the fights play out, but that's best discussed later. For now, I am struggling with a red trap room. There are two kinds of trap rooms in this game. The ones that are marked yellow on your minimap simply allow you to pass through to other rooms. The red ones, however, contain treasure. As such, they are considerably more difficult and often contain the bane of every FPS player's existence: precision platforming. It's okay, I'll make it through this time around. Now, what makes treasure rooms and trap rooms in general risky is the game's health economy. You may have noticed that health pickups are randomly dropped from monsters and breaking objects, but are very rare. Furthermore, they work on a percentage basis, they only heal you for a certain portion of your maximum health. This makes it very important to stay concentrated and... ooh, shiny! This is the Scarab Staff. As a weapon, it's not very good, it fires a lot of small, weak projectiles that bounce around. Sadly, most of the fighting in this game takes place in wide open areas. Maybe next time, bouncy sharks? Now, I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that I have 4 weapons. One I picked up on the start of the level, one I had from the treasure, and one from a perk. This is a very rare and a freak occurrence. Normally, you're stuck with one weapon for a floor, and you won't get another one until the start of the next level. I'm not complaining though, because it gives me a lot of freedom in choosing my way of dealing with those basilisks, and that's a good thing because basilisks are among the most annoying enemies in this game. Basilisks have 2 attacks. One of them is jumping at you and trying to liberally apply their beaks on your face. The other is spitting a slow-moving ball of acid that creates a poisonous cloud on its point of impact, effectively limiting the area you have to fight in. There's also some worker rots and what seems to be a sentient mushroom colony. Basically, we're fighting a basis for a really good salad. If you like poisonous chicken, that is. And, as the last mushroom projectile fizzles, we have officially cleared halls of the damned. All that remains is to take on the boss. Given the length of the video, I think you can imagine how well that goes. Say hello to King Slime. One of my generally fairly few complaints about this game is that all the bosses are a bigger version of normal enemies, but they do have a lot of fairly interesting attacks. In this particular case, what hell! Now, if you try to be smart and use the king as a cover from the projectiles all the slimes he spawns fire, this happens. Remember, it was the first time in months, and I wasn't very good at the game in the first place. See you next time when we progress further into the depths of the Ziggurat.